Historical allies are getting the ability to change their rarity, in the process gaining stronger boosts, productions, and even some new skills. Let's talk about it. As you may already know, the allies have 5 different rarities: common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. We've been able to get the common through epic allies from events and the heroic endeavors, but until now the allies have been locked to the rarities we received them at. To evolve them to the next rarity, you need to use a new currency called valor tokens in addition to some scrolls, which are the same currency used to increase your allies' levels. The source of scrolls is still the heroic endeavors, and you can get a small number of valor tokens there too, but the majority of your valor tokens will come from disbanding allies, where you can choose to sacrifice an existing ally in return for some of the tokens required to evolve your other allies. You do not, however, get any of the scrolls back that you may have used to level an ally when disbanding them. As you can see in this chart, disbanding an ally of a certain rarity will give you a quarter of the tokens required to evolve the same ally to the next rarity. Additionally, note that starting from common allies and getting them to legendary will require 1500 valor tokens, which is the equivalent of sacrificing 15 rare allies. That is quite steep. What do you get for that cost? Well, in reality, you don't get too much with the current cast of allies. They just give different army boosts in slightly larger quantities with those higher rarities. However, new allies that we will get in future events will be a little bit more interesting than just army boosts. The first of these allies from the 2026 Arthur event will be giving some army boosts, but also unit productions and some limited unit abilities. For example, as it currently is on beta, King Arthur will be giving a chance for the next 200 heavy units you bring to battle to gain the contact ability in the guild battlegrounds. If that sounds extremely specific, it's because it is. The other allies from that event, Merlin and Morgan Le Fay, will be offering the flying ability for ranged units and the MIRV ability for artillery units, respectively, both in the guild battlegrounds, and both affect only the next 200 units used. The level of the ally increases the chance for the units to gain that skill when you take them to battle. In other words, you can get stronger units for a limited number of fights, but be aware that these skills do not apply to converted rogues, just the normal units in your army. While the unit productions and skills are the only new abilities for the allies that we will be seeing with the Arthur event allies, the announcement teases that there may be additional ones coming in the future. Examples may include goods, blueprints, resources, or even fragments. The interesting thing about this is that any production that an ally has is age dependent, but this is the age of the building the ally is in, not the player. While this isn't too useful right now with the only productions being units, it may be worth keeping in the back of your mind if or when we get other productions on our allies. You may be wondering if the leveling system itself has changed, and the answer is mostly no, but the costs have changed. After the update, all allies cost the same amount of scrolls to level from 0 to 100, and that cost is the same as what it used to cost to level the epic allies. This means that your rare allies will be getting about 67% more expensive, with common allies costing 150% more. While this may seem like the part of the video where I tell you to go immediately level all of your allies to avoid the increased costs, I think you need to consider whether that's something you truly want to do. Remember, new allies will be offering these new unit abilities, resource productions, and maybe more in the future, and you may want to save your scrolls for that instead of more army boosts now. Also remember that you do not get scrolls back when disbanding an ally. If you level an ally now and then get rid of it in the future, you may have wasted some of those scrolls. As such, I leave the choice of whether to level stuff now up to you and how you want to play. When you do reach the point where you level allies though, there is a very nice quality of life change where you can type in the number of levels you want to level the ally and it's one click. No more just sitting there for a while pressing the upgrade button. One last order of business for the allies are the small changes that have now arrived to the Heroic Tavern. The most obvious thing is that the rewards for the task at the top have now changed. You get 115 scrolls, an increase from the previous 100, and 5 valor tokens for your first reward. Then the valor tokens are swapped out for fragments of the common Boudica. The epic Spartan soldier will not be available here any longer. Note that even with the extra scrolls you get up to 3,300 per week, the leveling of your common, uncommon, and rare allies will take longer than before due to the leveling cost increasing. Additionally, the negotiation tasks have been made a little bit easier with reduced options of goods to choose from for some of the tasks. I've also included all the other tasks here that have not changed for your reference, but again, the only changes are to the negotiations with them being made easier. With all of that out of the way, where does this leave us in terms of strategies for leveling, evolving, and disbanding your allies? I think a good point to start is putting the update in perspective. This firmly places allies as medium-term goals both for leveling and evolving them. Before the update, it would take about 3 weeks of completing all the endeavors to level a rare ally to level 100, but now it will take about 5. That means you can really only max out 1 ally per event since there are about 10 events per year. If you add in the costs needed to evolve a rare ally to legendary, you're looking at about 8 fully evolved level 100 allies in a year, not including the large amount of valor tokens that evolving all those allies would take. This means that leveling and evolving allies is not even close to something you can be doing with every single ally. Choose which ones you want to focus on carefully based on your playstyle. For example, if you like to fight in the guild battlegrounds, maybe choose an ally providing those army boosts, or one that provides skills for the specific units you like to use in the battlegrounds. However, if you want more general army boosts, focus on an ally giving those. As per which allies you should be disbanding, it is basically the opposite of which you should level. Ask yourself which allies are not giving utility to the things you want and disband those. I would recommend being slightly cautious with disbanding. It is a semi-permanent decision as you can only get an ally back from buying fragments from event shops, which require you to spend currency in those events that you could otherwise spend on other rewards. I do also want to remind you that you don't necessarily need to evolve an ally to the legendary rarity for it to be useful. Especially for the allies that we have that are all army boosts, there isn't too much of a reason to take it to those final rarities when it provides a fair amount of army boosts on its own. I would recommend targeting only the most powerful allies for your specific circumstances to evolve them to anything past rare. Normally this is where I would give my thoughts on the update, but it will really come down to which skills are offered, which units you use, and I'm personally going to have to play around with it for a while just to see that for myself. That's going to have to be where I end it, so feel free to share your thoughts about the update on my Discord server linked in the description, and as always, I'll see you all next time.